Right, so over the years we have absolutely built up this part of the program and added to it, and even this is an addition with finally, thanks to Gary, sitting down after our chat, we now have it even written down in notes. But the motivation, basically we want to sort of establish the idea that when you move into studio, you move into a stage where we want you to immerse yourself in the actual investigative feeling of doing a series of paintings. You're not just doing little one-offs, and that's one of the things that's been frustrating for us, I think, with people in studio who come in and with their skills, with all the stuff we've had behind them, they sort of come in with, you know, a picture on a phone and sort of say, I want to paint this. And so the pleasure you get, if you look at what artists do, every time we pull down a book and show you artists' work and things, they haven't done one painting or two paintings. They've done, and Gary and I, when we prep for an exhibition, we, at Watch House, we would have, say, 35, 40 paintings in an exhibition on a particular theme which we've had a feeling about, and so half and half. So, you know, I might have 22 and he might have 18. So we're not saying you have to do 35 paintings. We're just saying we want this to be something which you actually really get something out of, because it's a bit like any sort of immersion, any sort of research, and it's a very satisfying experience. And because across the whole breadth of the series, the whole thing is a learning experience. You actually learn on the paintings, and the next ones become easier. Sometimes the first ones are very laboured, you know, and so you can also be free because you're working on multiple works. You don't have to feel like you've got to express everything in one work. You can move across. So we've asked you to collect, and it's good to have this talk now while you're still, some of you are still collecting, and Katina's just about to head overseas, which this talk might affect what you do as well.
Yeah.
And so, like here we've said, it's a deep dive into one experience, and we are actually asking you at this stage to sort of really drill down and bring yourself to hART Start so that we can help you. Now, the reason that we also, one of the reasons we actually ask you to research is because, and this goes right back to when we were art teachers at school, when the students used to have a visual arts VAPD, visual arts process diary, is that we can't see your motivations in your head. We can see it when it's on the page. When we see things together, grouped together, we get a sense of what you're seeing. We can't get that from one image, and I've had repeated experiences where I've totally got it wrong. The recent one was Rose, where she brought a picture in, and I thought she was responding to something, and I talked to her, I said, you're going to have more images. And when she brought in more images, it was a completely different thing she was responding to that I thought she was responding to in the one image. So it means that it crystallises, we can get inside your head a little bit more, and therefore we can be of far greater assistance in terms of assisting you, because we can't know what you're seeing in a single image. We can't know it, or even a couple. So across a breadth of research, that's really important that we do it. And once you've done the research, you'll think, well, why wouldn't I do the paintings, I guess. So, over to you.
That seminar we had last time where Rowena was showing her drawings and her sketchbooks, and I did the introduction about depth of field, and then she took how she saw things. Is important because she was showing you that she isn't a slave to depth of field. She sees the image, the thing in front of her, and she responds to that, and she draws from the centre, and she expands out. I was taught, grilled in perspective because I did technical drawing, and I can't get past the way I see things because I forced myself to see it, and now I can't not see it, right? And so what I'm about to show you is some ways that I stop myself from being a slave to depth of field and the problems with it, and the problems of illusion. I was a painter when I was very young, so I was also a slave to using tone for light and shadow, which creates form, and a slave to, as I just said, linear perspective, and even a slave as I got into the marvels of painting and making paint look like surfaces like fur and brass and reflection, translucent water. And that's what I had to get out of, because all of that stuff is fine if you're an illustrated painter, and if you're a Baroque painter, go ahead. But I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be an expressive painter, and you can't be an expressive painter if you're sitting there working out how to make paint look like fur with light falling on it inside a room. It doesn't, because it's all a mental level brain activity, so I have to stop that in myself. So some of the things that I've worked out to help you, because you are also a slave to that sort of perspective, is to trip up and break that nexus that you're in. And I'm going to explain what some of those things are now. And why it's important to try and get past that. Now this is not the only way of doing it. I will let Bronya go on and use her photographs because they're already in the ballpark. That's it, you know. She's not a slave to that. And that's not... And so what she's doing in her head is what I'm doing here, you know. So that's why... Oh, why hasn't got Bronya do this? Bronya doing this.
The way you've grouped your...
Yeah.
You've got a technique which Gary's showing you his way, and we realise that you've already started with a way that's a little bit of an...
And it's also
but that's, and we're not saying that's wrong. We're just giving people a guide to say this is a step up if you don't know how.
Francis Bacon's way, who just leaves his studio looking like a pig mess, and it's just all over the floor, and he walks on his photographs and he picks them up and all scrumpled up with his footprint on, and he goes, well, that's a good idea. There's a scrumpled photo, I'm going to use that. That's an idea for my painting, because the inspiration is all around him, right?
So this method isn't the only way, but it gives you people a method to follow.
So step one, I'm going to do a series of paintings on Venice. How do I know what to take a picture of? How do I know what to sketch? All right, so the rule is just take a picture of anything that prompts you, anything that catches your eye. Right? And it's pretty easy today, you haven't got to get them printed, and if you get them printed, it's like, it might be $100 worth of photos, it's worth it, you know. Okay, so here we go. I don't know, repetitious windows, sky reflecting in windows, washing, billowing, funny little shapes on walls like circles and squares and all the different motifs on the walls, strong contrasts and shapes. Geometric repetitions clashing with the texture. Wonderful old posts, photos, old boards, old posts with ropes. Love to do something with them, but never did. Old posts with ropes. Compositional.
I did it before you.
Yeah.
I beat you to that one.
Compositional things. The wood over the domes, laneways, building fabric in laneways, twisting laneways that go off into the distance, bright blue boats against green, strangely coloured houses, and funny little additions to the buildings, more timber. Try blurring the photograph to see if that gives me any ideas. Laneways that go off into the distance, brightly coloured boats in contrast with everything else, repetitions in contrast with everything else, more repetitions. Can't remember. funny little additions to the houses. Brightly coloured awnings, bright yellows, peeling, going back to paint, repetitions and motifs. Motifs like arches.
Arches and grills and things.
Flaking red paint and repetitions of of arches and so on, and then times that by 2 because the rest are in here. Okay. And then you're not going to sort out what you want to do before you begin. Okay, you just say to yourself, oh look, I took a lot of pictures from in the Grand Canal of these buildings. I don't know why, because it's really boring and everyone just takes them, but there's something about it. But I don't know what it is that maybe I'm taking them because I'm supposed to take them. But there was a phrase going through in my head that Kenneth Clark, I think, said when I was a kid in school, and it was about the weightlessness of the buildings on the canal. And I began to think of them like lace floating on the canal, or a dandelion bobbing up and down on the water. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting idea, and it was in my head. So I stuck it in.
And he left the rest of the page blank. So that was just one key idea.
The reason I've got it covered up is because I don't want to freak you out with, oh, how do you prepare all this beforehand? The last time I gave this seminar, I really freaked out. And when I showed you, like 2 months ago, you all freaked out. I went, no, that's not the right approach. I'll use a bit of teacher tactics this time. These are pictures that I've all put in of laneways, because it's all about laneways and canals, isn't it? And I don't know what to do.
You want me to zoom in on them?
Yeah.
No.
It's all about laneways and canals, and I don't quite know how to use it because I know it's going to be the antithesis of denying a depth of field, because it is a depth of field, and I know it's going to be a problem, so I put them in. So
that's the laneways page, double page.
This is a key observation. Another key observation. Don't know how to use it yet. This is an emotional thing. The first night I arrived in Venice, it was pitch black, and there I was, and I walked out the laneway, and this palace was shimmering on the black water. And I just had this emotional memory of it, and I didn't know quite how to do that. So I just stuck it in. We did sketching, of course, and this was a cubist sketch, various viewpoint sketch that I did, moving and changing and moving and looking. It might look like things overlap there, and then the colour of the buildings was wacky, and it was really wacky in that lane. So I used the colour, watercolours. Plus I took some photos, and that's all we need to see there. And then all those textures that I just showed you.
There was one of a single point sketch that I think, but I don't know if you want to show it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which is different to the cubist sketch where you just.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's good.
Yeah.
I just want to show one in between. Yeah, and that was
That's just a straight sketch.
that was. I just love the arches and this and the look of that canal moving through and going. I did become a painting. And then I just took some research photos and had to help me along. I've got the painting here. I'm going to show you how I developed each one, okay? And then, just like you've been doing with your collage, I did I had all those lovely colours. I did a texture.
A montage.
A texture montage of all those colours, and these are all a little bit stuck over the top and everything. And it wasn't a good composition, but it's the basis for a painting that I could have used. I didn't get too fussy about making the composition exactly right.
So that's in a way like saying you can go into your research with your photographs and actually montage them, not with the idea of working back into the montage like we did in stage 3, but to maybe crop or not crop and actually use it as the basis of a composition, which smashes the perspective. Yep.
And then, where did I start? Oh, and that was a painting, I'm going to call them key paintings, that I found in a gallery in Venice, and I went, wow, that's good Venice colours. That might be a way of addressing the whole problem of Venice. So, basically, if you've got those piles of textures, you can do a collage. That might be a starting point. You'll see how I used it. If you've got photographs of shapes and motifs, and you don't quite know how to do them, right, you could do a montage, I guess, like this. You could do a montage.
Which is what Rose did. The first one she did was with her subject.
I did stick to some of the rules of up and down. I didn't put things in sideways, and I didn't put the word water at the top. I did there. Because I think I just still wanted it to feel like I was entering Venice, and the motivation is getting lost in Venice, which I did many times. And just
Sure.
it's like a montage of memory, you know. So I'm calling this a collage because it's very geometric, because they are geometric. I'm calling this a montage because it's about the images and the places and the motifs. And I wanted to get the sense of being lost in Venice, with staircases going up and taking me where I don't know. Okay, so that's that. Now, if I start with one of them, so I start with this one. Don't know how I'm going to paint it, but I find an abstract work as a key work, and I said, yeah, something like that. Something like that. I want it to be looser. It didn't get a lot looser, but it got a little bit looser. So I start painting, right? And as you do, I block it in. I block it all in, and then I begin to work for tones, and then I need some more information because I realise that my experience of Venice is more textural than what I've got. So I just go through my photos and I stick in a picture. You know, I stick in, not that one yet.
Hang on, I've got to go back here.
I stick in some textures like this because I just want to sort of see what they're doing. And
They're almost like little motifs, aren't they? And you wanted more information to put into it.
yeah, I've got another page with more textures, and I'm laying down a textured base, and then I'm struggling with this image because I don't really like all that up there. It's a bit too descriptive, and it's all too brown. I want to get away from the tertiary, and I realise that some of their poles look like this, and that might be a way of getting some blue into it. And I also noticed that some of the boats are blue, and I can use that as well. So I begin to work that into it.
So what Gary's saying is that the sketchbook keeps working for you while you're actually doing the painting. Yeah. So you think, oh, it needs this, I'm going to go back to my photographs and I see if there's anything there I can use.
It's a demanding problem because it's still got to get the field, kind of. It's got to get the field there, and it's got really nowhere else, just there. Okay, and
Sorry, what do you mean? It's got to get.
it's got a front and middle, and it goes back into it. The depth. I'm sorry, I've talked about the concept before, so I thought you'd just pick up on it. Perspective is the depth of field because it takes you back in past the surface of the picture to the illusion of the depth. The depth of field.
I understand the depth of field, but I thought we weren't doing depth of
I know.
We're not. He's saying the painting actually
You
had
should
it and
let me
that
finish the
created a problem.
So then I was struggling with that, right? How do I remove the depth of field? Why? Because I don't want you to see it as an illusionistic painting, and I don't want to be diverted by it being illusionistic painting. So what was I really looking at? I was really just looking at the repetition of the horizontals, and how do I do that and convince myself that I'm not painting stairs? That's part of the solution, and that kept happening. How do I make the sort of the compositional arch of the bridge, but not convince myself it's a bridge? Those solutions aren't apparent. The challenge isn't apparent. It's got lots of bridges under there. Right. No, that's too much. It's too much. There's lots of stairs under there. No, that's too much. It's too much. Just deleting it and changing it, deleting it and changing it. And then the repetition of the Venetian blinds, which is which is all over
Anyone
Venice.
realise why they're called Venetian blinds? That was a revelation.
Becomes a good motive because it keeps appearing in all my photographs. And I think, oh yeah, that's right. I kind of want that. And so begin to use that in the picture, and then having tremendous trouble with all of this and ended up sort of changing and just getting rid of it all, and finding other elements and a different sense here of to represent ideas about, there's the bridge, ideas about Venice. So I'm still got my journey, my mental journey, but I'm not going into the painting, I'm just going through the composition. And I'm trying to invoke in myself my memories of the red and the gold and the arches and the windows and the blinds and all those experiences. Yeah, okay. So there were some of the challenges of that one. Okay, so that one there is a collage, and use it for the basis, and then these get stuck on when you realise you need something else. Okay? This, thanks Ryan, keep doing that. This one here, this is a... part of this is the offer sketch, and I can just paint that and block it in because I was kind of happy with the composition, so I just block it in. And then I realised one of the most important things about that picture was the weird colour, was the wacky colour, and that was the colour in the paint box, and that wasn't the colour. So the first thing I did was stick in a picture of the colour. The colour, yeah. That's sort of a dirty green and a dirty orange. That's just a research photo, just to help me do it. Okay, so now I start blocking it in. And it's got some of the motifs that I developed on the other one, the repetition. Now it's of the bricks. Because in my photo I said, I really like the bricks. I really like bricks. And I like the way the bricks change colour and go into that green and go into all that stuff. So that gets stuck in while I'm painting. But it's not there from the start. That's the only thing that's there. So don't get freaked out about having it all sorted when we start. Okay. So then I'm up against challenges of how do I get the motifs in of the arches without them being doors and without them being bridges. And so I sort of struggle through different ways of putting on the motifs, the curves, the arches, the shapes and the directions, and end up with piping. I had a lot of trouble with that. I tried it 30 different ways, and it was just too figurative. It was just too detailed, that fence. So I just ended up just sort of painting over it.
So all this experimentation in terms of techniques is all part of the research too, which is what you might have seen people like Julia and Rose doing around the place, where they're actually working on paper and trying to get an effect before they perhaps even put it on the canvas.
Now, all those photographs and that sketch is just an excuse to send me into this colour scheme and this composition, and how do I get those sorts of surfaces and washes and glazes to make those colours sing. And I like the poles, it's very Venetian to me, so I painted a pole. And then it becomes an overwhelming problem with pole. I don't know why. There. And I tried it many, many different ways, and I went, after painting it 20 times, I went, because I'm painting a pole. It's not a pole. It's little repetitious red stripes, not a pole. Repetitious red stripes, because that's what it was doing, and it was wrong because it was a pole, and it was three-dimensional, and it was in the painting, and it was stuck out the front. So I realised then I had to turn it into red stripes, which as soon as I did that, I was happy. It stopped demanding my attention as a pole, and so it just became a white stripe and some red stripes.
Sorry, I've lost the pole.
And the colour of the red, that's got maybe a dozen different reds underneath it, because it had to be just the right red to grab the attention, to violate the picture just in the right way, but not too much that it didn't become part of the picture. It just had to just hit you. Okay, so that's a sketch, and you've all seen Rowena sketches and colours. Yeah, I didn't make up the colours, you see. It's really hard to get out of your way you do things, and that's what we do it for. Because we research, you notice something, you go, well, that's great, and then it gives you ideas and it goes in your brain. Okay, so that's that one. Now the next one is really challenging because what do I do with these lanes?
So I think, Kate, you're doing lanes, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your pictures are of lanes.
There's like an ocean as well.
Okay,
Oh,
so
it was
it's
Venice as well. Oh, okay.
So this picture down here I took because it was
It's closed off. It's
Whoops.
Yeah, these.
There it is.
This reminds me of one of the pages.
this one here. That's that picture there on the page. I don't know if it's maybe in your perspective that's the same size now, but
That's the
just
photo.
Is that a bed sheet?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
washed
it
in
was
blue
just
washing
the,
paint.
it was just the incongruousness
Yeah.
of the washing, which was all blue, shades of blue, and the big white square in the hanging in that little lane, which caught my eye. And I thought, well, I just like the graphicness of it. I like the repetition of the blue squares, and I like the repetition of the white squares, not just the sheep, but the white square down the bottom, and the white squares on the beach, and up there, in amongst this sort of canyon. So it's kind of a graphic contrast of shapes that caught my eye. Right. I'm not going to explain what caught my eye about them, because that's the one that I've got here. And then it was a massive problem to paint it.
Oh, I don't think we've seen this, have we? I haven't seen this.
No, we had to go over to his son's.
Oh, to steal it.
His son's got the trick fish. There's 3 of them in a row. There's three.
Oh.
So, and because, you know, it's a lane where it's such a demanding
Yeah.
perspective, I couldn't immediately start this until I found this picture,
So
which
this
is
is
an
all
abstract. That. And I went, oh, I see, it's just an abstract, it's just a vertical and a horizontal, and it's kind of like a cross in a church.
Is that
It's just this,
that's a painting, is it?
yeah, it's a painting. It's just an icon. It's like I'm using the word icon because it's like a central icon, like a cross, and it just has power. And I went, so that's kind of it's just an abstraction of this vertical form, like a candle sitting there. I found that, which is
You cropped that out of a bigger painting.
yeah, it was the other way around. But when it came in 2 pieces, and that was something. Yeah, it's kind of like that. This was actually a floor. So anyway, that gave me an idea. And then I began to struggle with this, and I'll just talk briefly about what the struggle is. Because it's such a strong 3-dimensional thing that takes you back, it's got perspective and linear perspective and aerial perspective and all of that, it's really hard for me to work as a painter on it because I keep wanting to illustrate that perspective and I can't work out how to just paint the picture. So I've just got to keep disciplining myself and saying, no, it's not depth. What have you do with the pole? It's not depth. It's just a composition. So the first part of it was, I won't give it to you in sequence, the things that I came up with, but was just the graphic nature of that, which ended up it hasn't got to be close, it's just got to be a quirky little repetitious blue and white. There's so many blues underneath it, you know. It just had to be the right blue that just zapped, that looked artificial, but just right for the picture. The way of painting this distance over here and still keep the sense of the paint being expressive and its integrity was to put the sky over the top of everything.
Which, if I can just draw the attention, was the conversation I had with Andrea last week about doing a canyon last.
So
painting the
it's,
sky in over all the textural stuff.
I can paint the sky in the background, but it's not in the background, it's paint. And
On top.
so
Yeah.
can I just say to myself, well, the painting's inspiring me, sorry, the subject is inspiring me to use paint in certain ways, so how is that inspiring me to use paint? And it's big swathes of this sort of buttery yellow, which I didn't know was going to be buttery. I thought it was going to be white, but you know, you keep changing it because it's not there yet. It doesn't feel right, so you change it again, change it again, change it again.
It does have a feel that relates to the original photograph, though. Those sort of magenta-y colours that you've picked up on there. There's a sort of a magenta-y, crimson-y glow in the actual photograph.
Yeah, well, all that, yes. So I'm getting inspiration from that. I'm using my art knowledge about how to get that. So all that magenta stuff glazed over the top, glazed again and glazed again. This was hell, just like I knew it was going to be, this perspective. And I even, I tried putting in textures that was inspiring me, like the cobbles. You sort of got this allegiance to the cobbles because it's so magical and you want to have it in. And it just wouldn't work because it was perspective and it was just working against everything. So then finally I realised, I just don't have to have that show, such a simple adaptation. I don't have to have that. I can just have that. I can just push it down, like in the picture. So you're constantly fighting your left brain logic about the illusion, well, I am, the illusion of depth, because I don't want that to take over my expressive use of paint. So the photograph motivated a composition that I wouldn't have thought of. It motivated a use of texture that I wouldn't have thought of. It motivated a colour combination that I wouldn't have thought of. That's why you paint from a subject. You're not trying to copy the lane. It's giving you more stuff that you can use. That was there because I just needed to stop the composition from coming down there. And I went, it's all too vertical. It's all too vertical. It's also vertical. I need to stop the vertical. How can I put something horizontal in? And this is the problem with figurative work, because you think, I just have to put something horizontal in, because what's it going to be? It's going to be what's it going to be?
It can also be a problem with abstract.
Yeah.
Where you really
so having a close look and I went, is there anything horizontal in this picture? Oh yeah, there's heaps of horizontal things. But I didn't sort of see them when I took a picture. And I went, oh great, oh that, yeah. So if I just carefully place that to stop the flow of the horizontal, I'll solve the problem. It was so hard because it was a depth of field, which is why I freaked out when you were doing a lane, Kate. I went, oh God, I know all about lanes.
And Andrea's doing it too. She's doing a canyon.
Yeah. This one here, the key picture was an emotional memory, and I didn't know how to go about it.
Okay.
This one here, how am I going to time it?
I don't know. I haven't got my watch on. What's the time?
So about 20 minutes.
Okay. So that's the emotional memory, and it's all about reflections on the water and arches and lights and poles, and how am I going to get away from the figurative in this little guy? And looking through art books, I found this one, this abstract.
Which, interestingly, I think is from a gallery in Bali, isn't it? This is from the Bali book we bought.
Yeah, and I went, oh, that's interesting. So that led me to, and with knowledge of how to make painting work, and I won't go because I'm running out of time, too much into it, but I remember when I put down a textured base, and then I painted the thing black, and when he said, that's going against all your rules, painting canvas black. I said, yeah, but I want the light to glow. So then I came back after the black and dry brushed all the areas that were going to be light, and I knew what they were going to be. But anyway, all this stuff here then is not representational of that palace. These things are. Because I realised from other paintings I was doing that what I was after was that texture of the buildings, not the illustration of the buildings, just the texture. And so then it became, what can I put in this picture? And so I just went through all my rubbish and I began to collect, oh, there's that sort of texture. It's that repetitious thing. It's like a lace pattern. I don't have to describe it exactly. And then how do I break through that? What else is it? Because when I was going around the very last hour or two on the journey out of Venice, I went, oh, I haven't taken a picture of all the things sticking out the top. And I went click, 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 and up the canal. And I just had all these things that stick out the top. And I just pasted them all on because that's all part of it too. That's texture again, things that stick out the top. And then I was just working now with impasto medium and saying, well, and I just kind of used an amalgam of some of those ideas, and I used that guy there to break through because I needed something to carry through there. And this is a device to bring the vertical down to here, and I wanted it mostly like that. And it's all glazed over the top to get the translucency of the water.
How did you choose the colours in that one? Because your original's just brown and...
Because, yeah, good.
What did you see in that to bring the
because I
blues
wanted
in?
it to be a magical moment of darkness with gold glowing through and light and brilliance.
Yeah.
And so I was just exploring which colours would do that, and you just keep like we're trying to get you just keep modifying. Too much detail, glaze over it, modify, and then gradually you just begin to work out which bits you want to pick up on, and that was obviously guiding me to make it these things.
Believe me, if you think that you're struggling with the paintings, you should have seen Gary doing this instead.
Yeah.
But you chose the red, I noticed, which is really bold. And yet...
I'm thinking of the blue. What made you choose the bluey greeny?
This one?
Yeah.
Because I was just experimenting with something that would hit against the other colours and also be translucent like a big pool. So some of these effects are all ways that we've shown you. This is actually a white paint with a glaze over the top because you want it to glow and you want it to be brilliant. So white with a pure glaze is how you get that. And that's that too, and that's that too. That's a glaze. So it's using different techniques to get that sort of brilliance. And it's about texture. When I was, meanwhile I was doing these pictures, when I looked at that, and I found this abstract, and I went, that's it. That's what it is. It's this strip lace on a field of colour, because the sky is always the same colour as the canal. And I went, that's what it's about. It's about a canvas. Huh? Oh, it's about a canvas with a strip of lace across it. And that led to me just exploring that idea. Stop.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
So they became a series of paintings. So each one is based on a different photograph.
There's 4 of them.
Yeah.
That became one of them.
That's another one.
Oh, yeah.
So, and can you see that's what triggered the idea?
Yeah.
You need something to get you out of the way you think you're seeing it, because you're seeing it like everybody else sees it, because that's all you've ever seen. You've only ever seen postcards, and you need another way of seeing it. So looking for an abstract, much better than looking for a figurative picture. Just find an abstract. Just Google it. Just
So
go
you're not
into
looking
Pinterest.
for images of Venice, you're looking for whole paintings of Venice,
Abstract
you're just looking for abstract
into
paintings.
Pinterest. And then you find one that takes you down
A different place.
rabbit hole. And you go, oh, yeah.
Can you flick back through this, because I didn't have the camera on it, back through that series? Yeah, flick back through the ones, not that one, because we've seen that one, that one there.
Yeah.
So the other thing which might be worth mentioning, which we hadn't really talked about, Gary and I, before, but I'm thinking about it, is that when he decided he was going to explore that lace on the water on the field, it's over a range of paintings.
And this one, which you've seen before.
Yeah, he actually kept the canvases all the same size. And so they end up becoming a a really good series.
Yeah.
As a group. Yeah.
Sky's hard because it wants to be flat, and then you can't, if you just go out and look at clouds, sometimes you'll see sometimes they're perfectly vertical, they're perfectly horizontal, like they can be any angle you want. So I sort of force myself and to just paint the sky over the top of the buildings with the shapes that it needs, and so
In the same
happens-
way as you did the water,
Yeah.
like rolling.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
doesn't-
Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. Now then, this collage here is meanwhile in some of these key paintings that I took pictures of, but mainly this, and I'm doing a couple of abstracts because I'm not leaving it to last. Oh, by the way, all these pictures happening exactly at the same time. Nothing's first, nothing's last.
It's
I've got 12 paintings going, I've got 20 paintings going at the same time.
That'll fry my brain.
No,
It'll kill me.
no, it's a really.
I've got a very strict brain. I'm a very process thinker, and I have to do things to stop myself from doing it. And that means as soon as I become too strict on myself, go to another painting. And keep.
It does give you a certain freedom. You just sort of find as soon as you get stuck or things, you just go and say, okay, I'll go and pull out this one. And I know you haven't really got that luxury here, but certainly you could do it with a
I
few.
don't think we've seen this either. Wow.
No,
So that's two paintings which then were side by side,
hinged together.
and they were so much like each other, and then they were so close together because I was doing them, and then I couldn't take them apart because as soon as they took them apart, they weren't any good anymore. So I went, oh god, they weren't painting. So I put them together, and then I began to find ways to link them.
Certainly made them easier to transport.
Yeah, find ways to link them, and then I realised unconsciously I was doing this.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't. That was just not even out, right? But I had seen that in Venice, and it had a powerful effect on me, and so unconsciously it was sort of turning into that, and then all the motives now which were in my brain, and I was just. It's hard to do a big painting because you have to tie it all together, and left and right, and up and down, and you're going to use all the devices and things that we talked about how do you bring it all together. And it's got, you'll see repetitions of direction, repetitions of colour, you'll see repetitions of motif. And then it's abstract, but I wanted it to be about Venice. So I'm going to put some little motifs in to make sure that I remember that it's about Venice. And then...
Is that a person there?
No.
But also, I think it probably needs to be said that he's done this sort of collage over here of all little bits, almost like little leftover bits that were left over when he cut up other pictures, and he's collaged them together because he really likes the connection of shape and repetition of shape, but also textures and colours and the glowing colours. And so he's done that, but he hasn't been a slave to it. It's allowed him to start a big abstract, but he hasn't been a slave to that composition. You can use it as a guide, but he's just really used it as a jumping off point.
Exactly, yeah. And there might be more windows over there that got painted out. It forces you to come up, the photographs force you to come up with the most unexpected colours.
Yeah, that colour is in the photographs. That dirty...
Is that it?
Yeah, that's that, yeah.
And because it's all too tertiary warm, and I want it to be not tertiary warm.
So while you're doing the painting, you're actually working and you're going with this sort of sense of building this painting, and then you're thinking it needs something, and then you go back to your source photographs and say, is there something here that I can...
I'm trying other cool colours and I go, is there a colour? Is there a colour that works? And you go, oh, that one. What is that colour? How do you make that colour? And then you struggle and oh, right, yeah, okay, that's it. That's the colour. And now, how do I put it on? Well, I just want to have a slash. I just want a slash of it. And so everything in this painting is pushed back and forward and back and forward and changed and altered. And if it looks fresh and vigorous, it's because I changed my mind so many times. You know, just keep changing your mind. There's not I don't think there's like a motif there that I invented. You know, this is the little things that are on the wall in the photograph, and these are the Venetian blinds, and that repetition
It's
there
the
is a
grill.
grill. You know, and I sat there thinking, how do I do a grill? So like you do, yeah. Do I pipe it on? Do I paint it on? Do I draw it on?
Do I scratch it on?
How do I do that? And I said, I think I could graffiti on it. I could scratch it on. How would I do that? And so it's not big. It's like, this is not spontaneous. I'm just thinking, how would I do that? Well, you need to put on with the dark and then scratch through it when it's wet. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, next time I do some dark, I'll do that.
Did you paste that little page on? Is that?
Yes, it's collage.
That's collage.
Because you know, it's got these little signs. It's very sort of, and I love those signs.
Yeah.
You know, and,
Almost like billboard, like pasted on there.
Yeah.
In
Those
fact,
are
you and I
posters.
both used that one in our. I
Do
use
we?
that in my Venice paintings.
And then everything else is just trying to remember what I told you about composition. It's a force that binds the piece together according to your emotional need. And I'm just trying to find things that it's not together yet. And it's obvious. You know, we are going to do an analysis of this like the other one that I've brought in. But I tried a linear connection. I've tried a colour connection. I've tried a repetition connection. I've tried like a textural, like a shape connection. I've tried a textural connection to tie it all together. And every decision about every colour is a modification of the decision before. I didn't know what the next decision was going to be. I modified the previous decision. I don't know why that went in, that funny pink colour. I think it was because I didn't like the edges and I was just trying to make it more muffled, and I must have seen that colour there. There it is. Yeah, there it is. And I went, oh, that's a good colour. And I just sort of pushed that on. So what we say about the research is you don't have to think of it. It's really hard to be really creative. And we don't never mention the word hART study. It isn't one of our principles. Ours is about responding and sensation. And if you've got the research there, you haven't got to sit down and struggle.
So, in many ways, you people might find this is actually a really good, I guess, it's going to assist you. You know, if I think about talking to Katina about her painting that she's doing at the moment, about decisions about what to do, if you had your research there, you just go back to the research and say, well, give me some ideas. I'll find it in the research. The answer might be there.
And this is like the sort of like the garbage pit canvas at the end of the line, where I'm just shoving things that I'm finding along the way. But so it's a complete abstraction, and it's got a textured base. You can see that I'm doing them, so I'm putting it on this canvas, and then I'm doing them.
Well, I've got that colour mixed up. I might throw it on here.
Do that. And then
The leftover.
Yeah,
the leftover canvas.
It's the leftover canvas.
and then trying to get the thing that because there's so much stuff and it's building up and so, and now trying to get something that rises to the top, which like Katina's going through now, what's going to rise to the top, because everything's the same, everything's the same balance, everything's the same amount. And I don't want that. And so you try this colour and it's not enough, so you try this colour and it's still not enough. Previously tried
This is very like what they're doing at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
This painting.
Yeah.
Chaos and
Yes.
Well, I guess that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it is.
So you tried this colour, no, that's not enough. I didn't invent the circles, they're there, they're these little circles, one of the pictures has got them written. I said, well, I'll try a motif. No, that's not enough. Well, when I did my bridge, that was good, I'll do that. Put that in. And then I don't know where I got that. But I said, I've got to have something which is so violent in the picture that it just rises above the picture and doesn't settle in. And so I probably saw it something like there. Maybe I'll just go for the most acidic. Now, you can't make that, you're going to have to buy it.
That limey yellow.
Yeah, yeah. and then just thought, I just need it to be really bold. It's great. Oh, that doesn't work. Maybe. Oh, it's there. I'll just try it also. It's great. That doesn't work. Just a little bit more, just to sort of get a little bit in, and yeah, that's it. That's the sort of thing that sort of hammers it together. The other, this dark here, which you were dealing with last week, Katina, the week before, about that dark Prussian blue. That's the glaze over the top, because I thought, no, it just needs a shadow. In your picture, you were discussing like a dark blue, and I thought, I think it needs and of course I'd already done it here, which is also the plug. Everything I'd done it there. And what I'd done there, I'd done there, what I'd done there, I'd done there, and what I'd done there, I'd done there. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel every painting. And when you bring in a photo and say, I want to paint this, what am I going to do to help you? I'm going to say, well, here's how I do it. And then you'll come, what do I do next, what do I do next, what do I do next, what do I do next? Because I'm only telling you how I would do it, and that's not what you want, and that's not what I want. Because I can't possibly tell you how you would do it. And if you've got multiple pictures and multiple research, you'll be bouncing off previous pictures, which is why I've got one, you're working on 3 pictures at once. So just do 3 at once. You know,
that brings back. Can you just film this?
Yeah.
Have you finished?
Yep.
I just brought in this because I have just started this process, and there's a couple of other things that I've done in this process. So this is my Kayama series, which I've literally just started. I think you've seen this when I talked about the sketch. But I just wanted to show you, oh no, don't worry about the fish, that's a slightly, that I'm in the process of actually starting the sketchbook. So that's why there's still lots of white pages. That's why these are the pages that Gary's actually. So I'm now just doing this process that we're asking you to do as part of Don't Worry About Fish. A bit of a sideline out at the fish market, so you go home. Okay, let's see if we can find this right. Fringes of trees. So I've got all the pictures. I've got the sketch that I've done. I then go out and I start to do things where I don't really find this a bit conventional. So then I think I'm going to play around just sitting in my, in my sunroom where I do this. I'm going to take that and now I'm going to push it a bit further and just keep pushing the composition and sketch out before I actually start painting. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find compositions in with the fringes of trees. How can I work the fringes of trees to be on the hill? So I'm playing around with, these are this further little bits of experiments that I guess you'd say were compositional experiments. So I come up with something that's a little bit more, less like a conventional landscape and more like some sort of concept idea of the feeling, which I think I talked about in my sketch thing of over-emphasising that hill in the distance. So I exaggerate it, So that's just a bit of a... So because I'm just at the really early start, I haven't done these paintings yet. I haven't done them. I'm actually working on my research before I start. And this is going to be the next series called Hinterland. And so I'm actually just starting, I've still got, don't worry about fish. So I'm still just got the original feeling. This has had an emotional feel of that feeling of the light after a storm. I then drew it in my sketchbook, so that's just a scan out of my sketchbook. And now I've got to find maybe some paintings or something, abstract paintings that key into that feel and jump from there. So I just brought those along, not because a lot of you have seen my work, maybe we were using Gary's for this, but I just want to make the point that we're not saying for you to do anything that we obviously don't do ourselves. I'm actually in this stage that you're about to start, where I've got my old sketchbooks and I'm actually gluing things in, looking for stuff, looking for ideas, pushing my ideas a bit further ahead.
If you get bored after like 3 paintings, don't expect any sympathy from me.
That's a weird one. I thought I'd show Kate that because this was just a feeling of a hill and a horizon and sea. And I went back into my boxes and boxes of things. That's the wall at the women's at the women's factory in Parramatta that I used as the basis for the series that you bought. you bought the major painting of, and I'm still getting mileage out of it, because then I thought, oh, if I stick that with that, look at that, the horizon flows through, and that almost looks like the tree. I just got it. So it's almost like finding connections, even when they're totally unrelated. Anyway.
Yes, but because you're not looking at your photographs and your research hard enough, if you're getting bored, that's going to be good.
That was good.
If you're getting bored, because like that's not the same as that, and not the same as that, not the same as that, and that's different again, and that's different again, and they're all different, and they just help each other, and it's easier to sort of work your way through. And then if you change subjects, which I did with the paintings from Alsace, suddenly it's just a whole different thing. By the way, every page, and I didn't do.
I'm going to go and get the
I didn't use. Never did that. Same process. Never did paintings that will never get done. But I never did that. Same process. I did that. Did that and that. But then when you go to Alsace, and then there's a whole different ballgame. Everything's different now. It's like, well, the colours are really bright, and it's a totally different thing. And you've got to start again. So when you say, I've done my 3 paintings, and I want to do this now, I go, really? You want to go through that again? There's plenty of imagination available in one series to keep it going for a couple of years. And you don't need to just
a couple of years.
You don't need to just change.
The trees have been going for a couple of years. My trees have been going.
Now, and when you want a complete change, then you choose something. I mean, it's still about buildings, because that's what I was into at the time. And so what's completely different is my research for Cayenne, which apparently is going to be called hinterland. Okay, so there's me putting photographs together to get compositions based on an abstract I found, that idea. Me taking compositional photos and looking at ways I could do, and this is very different. Scans out of my sketchbook, research photos of grass, research photos of barbed wire, research photos of what trees look like, or pine trees look like. Scan out of my sketchbook sort of the volumes of the trees and research.
Is that
photos.
yours too, with the bold blue? What's that? That one? Yeah, no, down one. What's that?
No, I don't know. I found
I thought it was yours.
I found it on Pinterest, but
that
that blue mountain became my Mount Solitaire. I've done half a dozen of the paintings because we hadn't been travelling, so we decided to go to Kiama all the time. We'll do Kiama, and that's what we were working on. So that's a totally different. The point was, it's a totally different colour palette, totally different way of painting, totally different expression of painting. And you do get fed up. You think, oh, that's enough. I don't want to do any more of that. But but as soon as you do that, you sort of move into another time to go and take more photographs, think it through, and take more pictures, and it takes time. That's all. And okay. So now, the main takeaway is the reason. Remember this. I just had one picture, and then I just began to assemble things after I started it. I just started it, and I went, now what do I need? So just have a page. It's in the advice. Stick it on and start it, and then say, okay, now what do I need? And if your advice to Katina is, don't plan the paintings. Just take the pictures of anything, colour, texture, composition, some narratives, and then you bring them all back.
Does this mean we've officially graduated level 3 and we are all in pre-studio?
Oh no, you've got to work on this. This is, oh yeah, you're all pre-studio. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We've graduated level 3.
Yeah. So
We're now-
this is you. This is you. We need you to finish off. Thanks for the question. We need you to finish off some of your stage 3 because you won't produce a painting for the exhibition otherwise. You just have your sketchbook.
Gary's got an ulterior motive.
Yeah, it's not about our development. It's just so we've got nothing to
I think you do.
I've got like 10
You know that's not true. You've got to, because the challenges you're facing now is what you're facing later.
Doesn't, I don't know if that's recording, but it doesn't matter that I've just got loads of completely unrelated.
Yeah, but that's what
Yeah,
Gary's
you've
got.
already done all that.
The theme, he's got a theme.
Yeah, but you might go to that for your next thing. But these,
No, yeah, no, it doesn't matter. You are an abstractionist, and that's what you want to be, so be an abstractionist. I didn't want to be an abstractionist, I want to be a painter or a Venice.
wow.
Is that still on? Gary, do you want me to...
Yeah, stop it then.
I don't know.
What